right, welcome to October's GEG Nevada meeting. Hope everyone is having a good night tonight. We, first of all, have a lot of our leaders here in the group tonight. So say hello, leaders. A little wave there. All right, couple norms before we get started, just to make sure that you mute yourself. You can use the chat for comments. You can do the raise your hand if you want to as well. And of course, most importantly, have some fun as we're going through everything. So Google Groups, if you have not joined our Google group yet, the link is here. Heather just put the presentation, or no, just put the link actually in there. So go ahead and join the Google group. It's a great place to ask questions. If you have any questions or you have something great to share with everybody, please do that as well. If you're doing something in your class, you may think, oh, it's not that great, but you know what? To someone else, it is something new possibly. So definitely share what you're doing in the Google group and ask questions to get help. We do have a celebration form. We like to celebrate those who have gone to get their level 1 or level 2 certification. So if you go to our GEG Nevada page, you can find our mission and everything here. And then if you go to Nevada Google Educators, right here at the top is the form. So you can see we have a list of all of our trainers, innovators here in Nevada, the whole state of Nevada. And then Google Educators, you can send your photo in, or you can just send in your name. We want to be able to celebrate all the people that we have that are getting the Google certifications. So if you've gotten that and your name is not up there, or you know somebody who is, definitely send that in and fill out that form. If you want more information on the Google certifications, you can come here to the Google certification page, where we have a plethora of information here in regards to it. Some of our leaders also have their own wakelets down here with great information on how to do that certification. So let's see what else. Our mission is to build a community of educators from around Nevada who empower, inspire, share, and learn together, united in a common interest to leverage technology for transformations in learning. So we're definitely all here to share. We're always looking for new Nevada leaders to join our team as well. So if that's something you're interested in, or you don't necessarily want to be a leader, but you want to come on to our monthly meeting and even just share a little of what you're doing with in your classroom, please feel free to reach out to one of us and let us know. So a couple to-do list things. First, we need to fill out the attendance form. I believe, if Heather, can you put that in the chat? And then we're going to do a little get to know you activity here real quick, just a minute or so. And then we'll go through this month's tool, some Google updates. Scott's shared some great Google updates with us. And then we'll have an open forum where you can ask questions. So, oh, there's the attendance form too, but Heather, I believe, put it in the chat already. So if you can just fill that out sometime during the meeting, and we'll share it again at the end. So Heather, you want to do this? You want me to keep going?
No, I can go. You've been doing a lot of talking. I can go.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so we're going to play a little get to know you game called Camera On, Camera Off. So we are going to go to a slide. It's going to have two choices. One of the choices, if that is what you prefer, you leave your camera on. And one of the choices, if you prefer the other choice, you turn your camera off. Okay, so let's go ahead and thank you. Leave your camera on if you'd rather go through a haunted house. Turn your camera off if you'd rather be a character in a haunted house. All right, so we're about split down the middle here, sort of, but it's an odd, no, it's an even number. Okay.
I'm excited to scare you guys with your cameras on.
If you're dressed as a clown, you'll totally scare me.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Or Kyle's fear.
The next one is, would you rather keep your camera on if you'd rather dunk for apples? Turn your camera off if you'd rather carve a pumpkin. Okay, so only a couple dunkers there. Oh, no, you'd rather carve a pumpkin, so only Scott. All right, our next one is, would you rather walk through a graveyard at midnight or spend the night in a spooky, abandoned old house?
Neither. I'm going to leave the meat.
I'm right there too. We just hang up if neither choice is for us. I'd probably have to run through the graveyard, but
me too.
At least it'd be over with. All right, next one is, Would you rather trick or treat or watch a scary movie? Oh, lots of candy lovers here. Oh, no. Oh, the guys are out. Oh, and Lisa too. All right. So we got some scary movies. And I think do we have one more, Joanne?
Yes, I just put it up.
Oh, would you rather have a creative costume where people have to kind of like figure you out and stuff? Or would you rather have a scary costume? All right.
Oh, we got lots of creative people.
We have a girl at work who's a pun every year, and we all have to figure out what the pun is.
That's cute.
And some years it's very easy, and other years it's very hard, and then we kind of laugh because we're like, okay, well, not sure how you thought of that, but good for you. All right, so that is this meeting's get to know you activity. So we are
hope you guys all have a good Halloween. Hopefully you can get out trick-or-treating again this year if you have kids.
Yes. So we're going to jump into our...
Wait, Dana posted what she's going to be. A DNS server with a missing border gateway protocol for the outage last Monday. That's creative.
Okay. Hope everyone can figure that out. So to this meeting's tech tool that we're going to talk about is Google Docs, an oldie but a goodie, but hopefully you will learn some things from our presentation. Joanne's going to start us out with our friend Tables. Docs. What can we do, Joanne?
Okay, I'll be honest, I'm a little obsessed with tables. I put everything in tables. It just visually helps me so much. So I'm going to show a couple different examples of tables. So first of all, this is one that I really like sometimes I'll still see people that will put out, and that's okay if you're doing that. Sorry, that sounded bad, but I'll see where it's put out and they have the lines where they want the kids to type on the lines, which one is hard. Two, just visually when you go to grade that, it's so hard. So I like to put where I have a column with questions and the kids put their research, they have their answer in another column and maybe even have a third column. This one happened to be a research project. So just visually, when I go to grade it, it's really easy for me to see exactly where they have typed in their content. So to make a table, and a lot of times we see tables in HyperDocs. HyperDocs is a big talk out there. That's a lot of times how those are laid out, but some people don't know necessarily how to start from scratch to make their own HyperDoc. So you start, I'll make this at the top. You come up to Insert. You choose the table option. And then here you choose the amount of columns and rows that you want. But if you mess up how many columns or rows you have, no big deal. When you're in here, all you'd have to do is right click and you can choose to insert row above, below, column left, right. This is also how you delete those columns and rows as well and delete your table. You can change the size. I'm actually going to delete, well, actually, I'll keep this. You can change the size and the width of your columns as well as the rows. And it's just by left clicking on those lines and dragging. Then I'm going to show you really quick how if you have a bunch different like this, if you right click, you can also distribute those columns back to the same size. So that's a little tip if you kind of like, oh, I actually messed this up so much, I want them all back even. You can do that as well with your rows. So on this one below here, I merged these top cells. So that's just a left click drag to highlight all 4 cells you want to merge and then choose merge cells. You can just merge 2 if you want. It doesn't have to be all the way across. You also can merge rows together. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Sometimes you'll see that with those HyperDocs where they have the different kind of sections off. To highlight just one cell, like I did this green below, it's just putting your cursor in that cell, coming up to the paint bucket. If you don't see it, you click on these 3 dots over where it's more, and then choose your paint bucket and choose your color. Then it's just a matter of typing in there. So same thing, if I want this row to be a different color, I would do the same thing. Highlight the cells and choose the next color that I want it to be. Of course, I chose 2 really close together. So I'm going to right click and delete this table. So I'm going to show again that distribution row, because I'll see sometimes where people will, they'll do a table like this and then they'll hit the return button because they're like, I want the kids to have space to write. But you don't have to do that, because as the kids type, it'll automatically increase the height of that row. But again, if you want to just kind of have everything look uniform, some people really like that. That is where that distribute rows comes in handy. because you see now it's given me all those rows are the exact same height. Then you can come back and maybe just change your top 2 if that's what you want. Couple other things you can do is your table properties. So if you right click on the table and choose table properties, here are some additional options you have. Sometimes you won't even realize there's a table there because someone can change this to 0, and then you'll see my lines are completely gone. So that's a really nice way to kind of space things out on your page. So let's look at a few other options here. Cell background color, that'll actually change the entire table's background cell. So you do it how I showed you the first time if you want to just do particular ones. This cell alignment, let me show you this really quick. Let me do this because this will only do one cell at a time unless you highlight the entire thing. So I'm going to highlight these first things, and then I'm going to go back to my table properties, and I am going to align the text in the middle. So when I do that, you can see what it did is it took all this text and put it in the middle, centered right in the middle of that row. So that's another thing that you can do within those table properties. Same thing with cell color. You can change this black to an orange, and that does change. Oops, I think I changed my thing to 0. Oops. And I'm going to increase that size. So now you can see it's changed it to an orange. If you want to change just one cell's lines, put your cursor in that cell, and you'll see it's hard to see, but it's a little arrow there. And if you left click on that, I'm going to choose this, and then I'm going to choose my color border, and let's go with the blue instead. And that's how you would change just one cell's color border. All right, so that's a little with tables. I'm going to show you some other examples of tables that I have used. So this here is a weekly agenda. We actually use this at our school, and Heather uses it at her school too. This is something we put together. So it kind of breaks the days down. You can see here how I have a separate table for each day of the week. And I just wanted to say why I do that is because if you do one big long table for all these days, what happens is, let's say when you get down here to Friday and you've started typing, let me just get some stuff on here. And now my Friday's gone over into 2 pages. I don't like that, and that will happen when you have a long table like that. So I like to separate the days because I can put my cursor here and then go to insert a page break. So now it's easy for a day just to start on that day below. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're setting up tables. If it's a lot of content, you might want to break that up. With this one here, we used something that was called bookmarks, where you can highlight a word, and then you can go to insert bookmark. And basically, you can do the same thing with slides. It's how you have those like choose your own adventure slides. And now it has made this a link. So these right here across the top, Monday through Friday and the other, are links. So it's nice as your agenda gets longer, kids can click on that, click on the bookmark for Friday, and it brings them right down to this day. So that's just a way that you can kind of use bookmarks for that. But I'm going to show you another thing you can do. So in this one here, I actually created this table. Let me scroll over a little bit. So this is sometimes how I would do my discussions because I didn't necessarily like how the feed gets too long in Canvas or other programs that you can use. I like doing it right on this where my kids all have a number. So they'll come in, they know their numbers, they type in their name. This was a text evidence thing, so they had to find that. Then it was their thoughts. And once they had so much time to do that, then this collaboration column was, okay, now you are going to collaborate and give feedback to the person whose name is below yours. Then your last person gives to the top. So it's a way to have everyone in class working on one document, and visually you can just kind of see as a teacher what each person's doing. So what happens with that, though, is there's a lot of scrolling. So what I did with each one of these numbers is I made them what's called the header. So when you formatted it, so I highlighted that one, I came up to format, and I come down to paragraph styles. And right here, I chose this as a heading. So when you choose things as a heading, it does 2 things, titles or headings. One is you might sometimes have seen over here, let me close this. You see this little icon over to the left. When you click on that, anything that you made a title or a header comes up over here on the side. So students can easily just scroll here and quickly say, oh, I'm John, so I'm going to go to John, and it brings John right down to his position on the page. So headers is a great feature to use. I'm going to come back to this, but I want to show you another document. This was like a library manual. So they did the same thing here. Now this one's a little overwhelming. There's a lot of titles and headers. So that's why I put this in here kind of just to show that as an example too, that sometimes it can be almost a little too overwhelming. So you can use the Control F shortcut to find something. But if I click on this, it's going to bring me right to that on the page. So it really helps when you have a lot of content like that as well. So back to this really quick. The other thing I wanted to show here, and I'll talk about what this is at the top, is especially if you're elementary and maybe you're going to do stuff like this a lot, I would make a template with your kids' names in it versus numbers. Like if you're teaching 5 periods a day, that's a lot to make it with every kid's name. Whereas this, I would make one of these with the numbers and then make 5 copies of it so I have it for each period. But, you know, if you want to do the names, make a template first so you have that, and then you're always making that copy when you're doing some new type activity. So how I got these numbers at the top here is to do a table of contents. So whenever you make anything a header, so let's come back to format. Here you have these titles and headers. Table of contents will pull the headings. So that is all I did is I had come in and I said that I wanted to insert a table of contents. And you can either do this first one is with page numbers, so it tells you exactly what page it's on. And the second one gives you what you see on mine, just the numbers. So that's how it is an easy way to put all that at the top. Another good reason to do that is if you have maybe a weekly journal you're doing with your kids, you can do each week. So as the weeks go on, they're not scrolling down because this is going to get long. They're just literally clicking on this week's, and it brings them right down to that section. So that's a nice way. And you can kind of see table of contents in this outline kind of almost do the same thing. So if you don't want to use up this space at the top, I don't know if it's 100% necessary to have that table of contents. I tend personally not to use that. I use this over to the side just for less clutter. But I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that was an option. So I know that was a lot, sorry. So hopefully there was a tip in there that maybe you can use in your classroom.
Thank you, Joanne. Awesome. Dana has a question.
I just wanted to mention that when you're using those headers, like you were saying, you're also making your document extremely ADA accessible. Because when screen readers are reading it and you're using those headings, it knows exactly what it is. So kudos.
Very good. That's a good tip in there too. Thank you.
Good job. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a second here. Sorry.
While she's doing that, good thing too, Dana threw that in there about in the chat, just in case someone didn't read that those are great options for embedding. That's what our teachers do. They embed their weekly agenda right on their Canvas homepage, which is great too, for parents to see as well as observers.
Okay.
Nice, Carl. Thanks for coming.
All right. So one of the first things that I'm going to talk about is
before you start, sorry, Lisa has a question. So right before you start, Lisa, go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to ask right when you had said that. At the beginning of the year, we received an agenda that looked very similar to that to embed in our Canvas so that we could keep track from week to week. The problem is I had to stop using it because when I copy from course to course, not all of the links were carrying over. So it didn't take what was in the first course and put it in the second course. What we typed was there, but the link was broken. And I didn't know how to fix that, except I just had to create a module. I did the same thing, but I just had to create a module for each week and then an individual page for every day, because that was the only way that I could get my assignments, my PDFs, and all my other files that were attached to it to copy over to the other classes.
You know, Lisa, when we're, because that doesn't sound right. So when we are done with this, we will have an open form at the end, and let's definitely address that, and we'll show you how to do that, how to embed and do that, because maybe there's just a little something that you're missing, or you can show us what you're doing and we can see what might be causing that problem.
Okay. Well,
So do that in the open forum.
I just wanted to let you know that that was an issue that a lot of us here at my school had, and we had to abandon it. But I'll wait till the end, because I do have, since I'm new to using the online Google Suite, I do have a question about sharing docs. So, but I'll wait to the end.
And we will answer all those questions and help you.
Okay.
And it sounds to me, just from what you're saying, that you guys might not have been using a Google Doc, that maybe it was a page that they made in Canvas that looks like this, that looks like her template.
Okay.
Because if you were editing it within Canvas, that's when you have those link issues when it gets copied into the other classes. But within Documents, you shouldn't have those. But we'll look at that at the end. But
Okay.
that's great, Lisa. That's a really great point to bring up.
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Okay. And just so you know, you're on my second screen here. So if you see me looking, that's when I'm looking at you, like right now.
No problem.
Sorry, I'm multitasking. Grades are due.
We
I love it.
understand. We're grateful you're here.
We were talking about that earlier, so that's right on topic also.
Okay.
Okay, so I will go back and share my screen. Just give it a second. Okay. So a couple things that I'm going to show you. I'm going to start with images. So there's a couple different ways to insert an image into a Google Doc. If you come up here and you want to search for an image, so you have your students, let's say, doing a report, I always like to refer to dogs. So they're just going to search in Google right within Docs, and they find this picture of this German Shepherd. So they go ahead and click on it and they insert it. One of the big things, and I know it's a big passion project of Joanne's, and I know that we really try to teach it to our middle school students, is ownership, copyright, citations. So right now I've put this image in here and I'm using it, but I have given no copyright information and no credit to the owner of this image. Well, if you instead, and I'm going to scroll down a couple, if you instead come down here to the Explore feature, when I search for dog, if I can spell it, not Dog the Bounty Hunter, just dog, and I go to images, notice that I have this same exact image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and insert it. And it's going to add it. Now, again, same dog, same image, but the difference is when I come down here and I click on it, I have right here the actual web page that I got it from. So I'm giving some credit to the website that I took this, and that this is not my own original photo. So I wanted to show that the difference in where you can pull images from when you're doing a Google search for images right within Docs. Another one that I like, and I'm just going to type some goggly goop down here. And I forget about this a lot, but I like to go up to my fonts right here. So right now I'm in Arial. And, you know, it tells me my recent ones, and then it gives me a list here. But something that we often forget about is the More Fonts section. And in this section, I can really search for fonts based on different features. So I can go ahead and look down if I want a handwriting font. This will narrow me down to handwriting fonts. So it's kind of nice because it kind of is a search feature within Docs for fonts that you might want to use. So I think a lot of times we forget about the other fonts that are available within Docs. And then one thing that I've run into a lot is that I have teachers or staff members that are filling something out or completing something for someone maybe off campus, and there are strict requirements for it. So they said, well, I have to submit this, but I have to submit it in Word, and I'm a Google person, and I like to use Google a little bit more. Maybe same thing with Sheets and Excel. So if you do have something like that you run into, you can always prepare it in Docs and come up to File and Download, and you have all these choices here. So if you wanted to submit something as a PDF because you don't want people, you want a nice clean copy, you don't want them to go ahead and make a copy of it and change anything, you can choose that. If you have someone who insists that it has to be submitted as a Microsoft Word document, you can go ahead and choose that. So just some different formats that you can download when you are working in Docs, and then that also applies to the other parts of the Google Suite as well. Okay.
Heather, actually, can you go back to your photo?
Yes.
I want to mention something here too, to mention, just left click on it. Okay, so those features at the bottom, because they have come, that's still not Google Slides photo, but they have come away with how they allow you to adjust the different pictures. But the one that I'm not a big lover of is, and to always talk to your kids about that with design, is the text in front of the picture. Because a lot of times then kids will put text on top of such a busy photo, and then you cannot read the text. But it's a great little lesson when you are having kids insert images to talk about design and what your focus is when you want to add words. But it doesn't necessarily be on a picture. But they do have so many more options in here now with photos to be able to move that picture to where you want it to be, and even to to color it and format it more. Because if you click on that one more time, like off of the crop though, and then click. So when you click on those three dots and you go to the all image options, there are a lot more options over there now that they used to not have, just with the recoloring. And of course, think of the point of what you're teaching with your kids, because sometimes they'll spend way too much time over there playing around. But they do keep getting a little bit better with images within documents. So that's a good thing. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Joanne. Yes, I agree. And it is nice to have those different options in there. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting. Or did you want me to do the next one, Joanne? You don't have any sound.
Said it's Scott with our Google updates. So are you going to present it, Heather?
Oh, sure. Sorry. All right, hold on. Sorry.
So Scott put together a video of this month's Google update. So we will watch it together, and then you'll have the link for it as well if you want to watch the playback or share it with anyone.
It's on YouTube now, or on our Google channel, GEG channel.
All right, so sorry, I did not have this. All right, so here we go. I should have had this queued up. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, I did.
Hi, this is Scott with a few of the updates to our Google universe. I love this little tool that came out last month on Android devices. This little tool is called Automated Quote Cards. What you do is find a quote or something online that you want to share. Just highlight the selection. Click Create Card, and then select one of the free pre-designed cards that you can share via text or social media with friends or your fans. Kind of neat add-on or add-in to the Android system. Probably will roll out to iOS system soon. Hopefully you can see this on your device now. Here's an interesting update. Google purchased this company called PlaySpace, which is a video, screen share, and whiteboarding collaboration tool. Google hasn't shared what they have planned on using PlaySpace for, whether to embed the built-in tools into their current products, or perhaps they just want to acquire the creatives that put it all together. Time will tell. Looks pretty cool. Here's a fun tool that has come back to us from the past. You used to be able to make phone calls from Google Hangouts. So now on the mobile version of Google Meet, you can start a spontaneous one-on-one phone call with members of your team or friends from your contacts through the Google Meet app on the mobile device. Google is thinking that instead of setting up a Meet session, an impromptu video call will suffice. I think it's just one more step in Google's initiative to make everything hybrid capable. Go figure. Just call if you have a question. Why didn't we think of that? Next is a simple user interface update to Google Forms. The settings option has moved down next to the responses tab instead of a gear icon in the upper right corner. Not very complicated update. Probably one you've already seen if you've been onto Forms lately. But it's an update, hopefully, that will improve the new user experience. This is the first of 2 updates for Google Sites. This update allows you to restore a single page within Google Sites. The ability to restore previous edits has been available for a while, but now users will have the ability to restore a single page instead of resetting the entire site. The second update to Google Sites is the ability to create a new theme for your Google Sites. You can create highly stylized theme by choosing different fonts and color schemes. Google has now embedded the ability to turn on live translated captions from within the Google Meet application. The ability to have live translated captions is not new, but it has only been available as a workaround until now using the Google Translate extension in the Chrome browser. This does pretty much the same thing, but is built into the Google Meet settings tab. Finally, after all this time, Google has added the ability to insert a watermark into Google Docs. I remember using this in college when I wanted to turn in a draft or work with a colleague, and I wanted to make sure that they knew that this was not the final version. I imagine you can also use this for copyright infringement protection as well, if necessary. This is a slick tool that should be rolling out to Chrome OS soon. The ability to use Google Lens searching capability inside of the Chrome OS operating system. If you're unfamiliar with Google Lens, it lives on most Android and iOS devices and has the ability to take pictures of 3D objects and 2D objects and text, then immediately search the web for more information on those objects. This update will allow students to select a part of the screen and have Google Lens automatically search for matching materials and further information about an object, an image, or a text. Very useful if you're teaching your students to do some critical vetting on the sources of their images or text. There are workarounds now to be able to do some of this searching on your own, but this offers an easy built-in version for students. Last but not least, Google has produced a 52-page PDF teacher's guide on their Google Arts and Culture resources. If you're not familiar with Google Arts and Culture, this site has a tremendous amount of interesting and educational materials that have been curated by Google. There are interactive and immersive experiences, primary source materials, and much, much more on this extensive site. Definitely pass this on to your teachers and not just the art teachers. Well, that's it. That's some of the good stuff that's coming your way from Google. Thanks.
Wow, that was amazing. Oh, that's just, you can get that other.
It's so amazing. We're going to watch it again.
No, yeah, no.
Thank you, Scott. All right. Next we have Dana.
Okay, so we got an email. It was from the State Department, and the State Department has partnered with Google to pay for free Google certs. So you can get your level 1 Google certification with an education course for free. So this is the first time this has ever happened. So they've partnered with a company called Fried Technology, which are outstanding. And I've got the link right here, friedtech.google/Nevada, or you can go to the email we got from the State Department. They sent it twice now, and sign up for a free course with a free test. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time it's ever been free. So jump on it to get your level 1 cert.
Thank you, Dana. All right, Joanne, I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting my screen. And we are going to take a group photo. So turn those cameras on. Give us your best smile. And Joanne, give us a countdown. Use your sound stuff on, Joanne.
Got it.
Thank you.
Sound issues.